Good morning, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, April 18th of 2023. And this bright sunny morning, a little better than yesterday. I have Don Schwenker, Ian Flagel, myself, Mike Stein, so your county supervisors. I have Lisa and Bjorn from the auditors and IT, and Luann, our executive assistant, is in the background. And we have Mary here from the media. And we first on our agenda this morning is Jaden Shekel, our assistant Jackson County engineer. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you guys?
Good.
First up is a right-of-way utility permit for Alliant Energy. It covers a wide area. Basically, you want to go for miles all the way to Sebula, up to Green Island. All it really is though, is just replacing replacing poles, just some transformers, so no new utility work, just replacement.
It's all overhead.
Correct, yep. I don't know if there's any underground as far as it goes. If there's any residential, as it goes to homes,
Yeah.
but everything within our right of way is all overhead, so just replacement of poles. So looking for approval.
Recommended for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the line energy.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the right-of-way utility permit for Line Energy as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Next up is an entrance permit on 216 for Chuck Meaninger. It's in the Bellevue Township, section 29. Met site distance. It's across from an existing driveway already. Don't see any issues with it whatsoever. It's already an existing field entrance. It's got a culvert that's clean. It's in good shape, so. With it looking to get power up to that property, so in order for that, it has to be 911 sign, so. That's all it really was, so site distance fine again, so looking for.
Was it a field permit or gonna be a residential?
It'll be a farm, so like they're gonna have a building up on top of the hill. They just need power to get up there first. So, and power won't run up there unless it's 911, so.
So I had talked to Chuck a little bit. He had called me. Do they really need a permit being that their existing driveway there or extended? They need extended or?
Well, he gave us two options where he would like a driveway, because there's 322nd Avenue is that
Right,
dead end
the
that goes,
dead end, yeah.
so he can access that parcel from both streets. And 216th already had a driveway there with a culvert, so. Because the other one did not have a culvert, and based on how it drained, I told him we may have to require a culvert put in, so.
Cause he was talking on the dead end there when I was.
Yeah, I asked him, I said, so is that the deciding factor, if we need to put a culvert in, he goes, then we can do it on 216th, so that's not an issue for you, even though it's a little bit longer path to get up to where you, goes, no, it's not an issue, so.
So they did have applied for the 911 sign or?
No, that's
Doing this,
what
they'll
this
get it.
entrance permit is for, so.
Motion approved.
Second that.
Motion is second to approve the entrance permit for Chuck Meaninger as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Nothing left on the agenda, but just wanted to go through some updates. Construction season is upon us and has started. Last week, there was some crack sealing that went on our asphalt roads. It was on Bernard Road from 234th Street to the Dubuque County line. There was also E17 from Canton to Emma line. There was a small portion on Esgate Road, and then also Codfish Hollow. That all started last week and also ended last week on Friday, I believe, so. So that project is done. And then going to our larger projects, the Y61 overlay. The overlay part has not begun, but the work leading up to it has. So last week, Chick Fry was in completing some culvert replacement, not entire length culvert, but just some end sections that need to be tied and apron ends. So they did that work last week, completed that. Today, actually right now as we speak, they're actually concrete doing some PCC patching on that portion before we get ready to do the overlay. 6 patches, I believe, so. They're doing that today, and that's planned to be finished today, may go into tomorrow, but it's planned to be done today.
And the overlay will start, did you say that? I'm sorry, I missed it.
It's, when we had a pre-construction meeting, it was tentatively scheduled for middle of May, but I'm gonna take a wild guess and say it's probably gonna get pushed back to after Memorial Day. I don't know, but last year it was tentatively mid-May.
So that's budgeted in 23, 24, correct?
23, yeah.
So I'm just saying that
July 16th.
it'll be completed or paid for after in the 23, 24, but.
Yeah, I mean, when they get in there, they only have 30 working days. So when they start, I mean, they're already started working
Yeah.
days, so.
Yeah, well, it's good to know.
Yeah, it's
Sure,
just-
yeah.
So, because River City also has Highway 62 that they're overlaying, I think they're doing Highway 136. Clinton County, I believe as well. They're setting up a plant in Rockdale. Maybe it's already set up, but. So when they're here, they're gonna be in the area.
Yeah, that would be a good project done. That's, I mean, we patched that 250th. I'm gonna say over 900 patches a couple of years ago. I know a couple of them have since deteriorated, but. Good deal.
So that's as far as construction projects go, that's what's going on there. And then last but not least, I thought it'd be a good idea to show you guys our GPS unit. So right now, this is a rental unit that we're using until we get our new unit purchased in July. But this is the exact model that we're getting. So what this allows us to do is any project we have, whether it be a bridge, overlay, paving, whatever, we can go out and do our topo survey with it. It takes all the shots, and I can show you on the screen here in a minute. It takes all of our shots, records elevation, location, all that. And it allows us to import that into AutoCAD for us to have, I guess I always call it a base map, but like your existing site there in AutoCAD, so you could start designing your proposed improvements, whether it be a bridge, new paving, overlay, what have you.
So when you say the topo, you're telling me the volume of water and stuff like that needs to be taken into consideration because of the lay of the land and.
So by topo, I mean like the existing ground, so obviously in a bridge, you have your stream, so it takes your stream cross section, contour elevation is what it's
Yeah.
shooting to know what elevation
That's
everything's
the word I
at.
was looking for.
Mhm.
So as I understand it, when we were talking. You used to have to come back and draw them all in by hand according to your.
Correct.
readings. Now you can just kind of bring it in and.
Yep, so this one, you can actually set it to where it's called line stringing, so as you're shooting your codes, you can call it, edge of asphalt, center line, and as you go up and down the road crossways. Whichever way you want to do it, it'll start to connect all those dots and line stringing, so cuts your time setting it. Once you import this into CAD, by it doing the line stringing for you saves a significant amount of time versus having to connect the dots in the office thinking, what was this point again? Thinking back.
So you don't have to have anybody out there holding the stick for you either.
This is all one hand up, and this will also do our construction staking, so like. Say they want to stake a new bridge, a new abutment for a new bridge. You can get on here, tell it, I mean, it's all in the real-time coordinate, in the coordinate system, coordinate correct. So you can tell it whatever offsets you want, it'll do all our construction staking for us, so I guess I'm trying to.
That's interesting. I intended to get out there and see it that day, but I just couldn't make it.
So
I can't
So
say.
like this is the focal for, I don't know how familiar you guys are looking at like stuff. Try
That
to-
looks-
Yeah, so this is the existing bridge, that monolith, that East
Right,
Line Bridge that's
right.
closed, so this is the topo. The stream that's winding through the whole road as it goes towards 64 north. So it connects these lines automatically for you, so. Which helps, because,
So you can't blame it on.
You don't get to color no more.
no, well, just not as much.
You can't blame it on to somebody because of machines. Now you gotta blame it on the machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or the inputs. he
Or the
put into
operator.
machine.
Yeah. I appreciate that. That sounds like it's much overdue.
I just kind of wanted to show you guys, since like I said, we have it budgeted to buy one this July, so just wanted to show what it is.
Appreciate it.
So, I guess, are there any questions, I guess?
Well, and this is just kind of thinking back with like the jail project. I know there's some control points that need to be set before they can engineer that back bank and stuff. Can this help with that or?
It
Is that-
could, as far as building goes, I would recommend still, for me, I would rather recommend subbing something like that out to surveying consultant, only on the fact that with as far as building goes, if there's one tiny little error, if it doesn't close or if elevation's off a little bit, you know, you got millions of dollars. Multiple millions of dollars that could be at
For a
risk.
hillside kind of thing, but just an idea.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
I don't have any.
I see they're touching up again this morning. I see them touching up some of the where they're gonna. Do the dust control stuff.
Yeah,
Like on top of that.
Yep, they've been tackling that, so, and we have a meeting next week, next Tuesday morning with the grader operators to go over all of the retrieval process and dust control, all that stuff, so.
The compactor trailers in yet?
I believe they're coming in this week, either today or tomorrow.
Cool.
So,
Thanks, Jaden.
yep.
All right, are there any other visitors or citizens that would like to approach the board this morning? Other than what we have present, I think that are on the agenda, so we'll just, I don't see any. We'll move along, Mr. Chuck Grant, Innovate 120, I see Kelly is here with you.
Yes, she
If you guys would like to come forward and. Nice. Morning. Maybe suggest to introduce yourselves for the public. and-
Yeah, good morning. My name is Chuck Current. I'm with Innovate 120, which is a new effort in downtown Macokota. It is a entrepreneur center, a co-working hub, and a business incubator. And we're here, Kelly Brown, the wrong Kelly, with Jackson County Economic Alliance. You guys certainly are familiar with her. We're gonna talk about a program that we're doing. It's called Wednesdays Are Possible. And it's a monthly conversation regarding entrepreneurship, just to kind of build a network for the county. And the thing we wanted to do this morning is invite you and make sure that you're aware it's on your calendar, because the opportunity is we're featuring success stories from around the county. So the two people we've talked to so far is we talked to Mark Lyon, who's a council person here and who started the Macokota Brewing Company. And then last month we had a discussion with David Blake, who is the founder and the CEO of Blue 9 Pet Products. And now we're taking the show on the road, and we wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. We're going to be in Preston in May and then in Bellevue in June. And Kelly is going to actually do the program in Preston, so she's going to talk a little bit about the guests and what we've got planned.
Yeah, thank you.
Good one.
Good morning. First of all, we don't want anything. We're not asking for any money, so.
That's refreshing, actually, yeah. Approved.
Yeah. We just want you to know what's going on. We want you to support, help spread the word, because the idea is that we want to promote, obviously, development in Jackson County. And a way to do that is to help those who may be unsure of themselves, not sure how to get started, to have the benefit of hearing from other success stories in Jackson County. They can be inspired by those stories. They can ask questions. It's in-depth presentations so that they can, pick each other's brain. They're there for each other, and hopefully get some of those people that are kind of riding the fence to be able to go, hey, I want to try it. I want to do it. So it's natural that the two of us can work together. We have funding from the Jackson County
Foundation.
Foundation,
Foundation of Jackson
right,
County.
is supporting the programming. So this next month, we're gonna be in Preston, and we're interviewing the keepers. And if you know Plastics Unlimited story, or that it started out with, actually they thought they were gonna be in farming, and that wasn't in the cards for them because of some physical limitations. And so they heard that plastics was the future, so they went and researched and bought a thermoformer, and they thought they had the best of all worlds because it came with a contact list of 200 names. So they thought they were buying a business. And then so Terry went into the barn to try to figure out how to run this machine, and his wife, Nancy, got on the phone and started making calls and realized that these numbers were 2 years outdated. They already had new manufacturers In other words, they had to start from scratch.
Mhm.
So that was back in the day when business plans weren't a big deal and they weren't really sure how to start, but they figured it out. And as you know, many additions and clients with John Deere being one of their largest ones
Mhm.
later, that they're very successful. So we hope that you can join us, if not in Preston, in Bellevue, and then I think the following month we're
Yeah,
back
July,
here.
We'll be back. in-
July, we'll be back and actually being able to debut and showcase the new offices, at the Innovate 120 building.
The interesting thing with Plastics Unlimited, it's kind of the overnight success 30 years in making. And so that's part of the story because a lot of people see, today they hire, I think, 140
Mhm.
people, 6 additions later. So it's a super successful business. But people need to hear, Roy's wasn't that way, and here's how we build, here's the tough decisions, and here's the resources. So just a quick comment, when David Blake had the discussion last month, he spent a considerable amount of time talking about the Jackson County revolving loan fund. Because obviously that was an important part of how he has built his business, so. That is it. Any questions this morning?
No, I mean, I guess, I know that keep the family personally from years past, but we all know that there was a lot of hard work put into that, you don't start that in the barn and grow with that success and keep working at it and keep working at it. And to have the family involved is a really cool part of it, that they took it and had a bigger vision, these younger kids have that vision and they're capable of using the technology that's available.
Amen.
Good success story for Jackson County, yep.
Indeed. Well, we'll make you aware of our future visits, but just wanted again to extend that.
Yeah, I
invitation.
appreciate that. So this one's May 3rd, it says on the card.
Yep. At the Preston Town,
Hall.
Town Hall, right downtown. Very good.
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, we're right on schedule here. John, are you available? John Hanson is the president of Midwest Construction Consultants here, who's project manager for our jail project, with an update.
Yep, Jeremy, here we did.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Jerry?
Jeremy?
Jeremy, sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
Yep, yep,
Nice to see you, Mike.
yep. And Don, and then.
Yeah. So, just wanted to go over a couple of things with you as far as scheduling and such now. Projects moving along. Bar joists are being completed in the south section of the correctional area, and they're completed in the east cell areas. Decking will be completed in the east cell areas this week, so that we can get underground electrical started in those particular areas. Precast erection is gonna start this week in the administration area. Gonna start setting panels in that area. We need to get the dead men, as the deck goes on, the dead men, which are the big concrete blocks and braces, can be removed in the areas. So that seems to be a problem getting them, so they have extras out there, more braces showed up. So as they're removing them, they ought to be able to keep going on this precast. We're in the process getting under, the plumber needs to get the underground plumbing tested. I want to know that that's good to go, that's part of the specifications. And they're supposed to be scheduling the oil sand separator installation. And then at the end of the month, beginning of the first week of May, I want to start getting concrete on the first floor of the correctional area. So the masons can get started, so that they can start forming for the mezzanine levels. So we need to get more contractors out there, of course, as soon as we can. So things appear to be moving along, but we're having to stay on top of them. As far as overall schedule, there's been some comments regarding schedule, and I just want to make sure we're all singing from the same handbook here. So
Thank you.
You're gonna show it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what you're looking at here is the original schedule. That was in the specification manual, you need another one yet, or? Okay. Was in the original specification manual, now we've been getting some calls from contractors. And stuff regarding scheduling. So originally it was slated to finish end of May, beginning of June. During the course of construction. There's an addenda posted. From the pre-bid meeting when, and you, this is for your knowledge too. So we were informed, the board was informed that, we couldn't get that, they couldn't get any bids for precast. Because it was originally scheduled for September, August area. So in the pre-bid meetings, which are part of the addenda that's posted. It was noted that the precast plants were several months behind. And although it was scheduled for August, or beginning of September. That we would allow it to be slightly adjusted. So that they could get bids for the precast, because all the precast companies were full at that point. So this addenda was posted and put out to the contractors and discussed during the meeting. On the schedule, you'll notice also when bids came in, they were over budget. That we were supposed to award contracts in 12/21. So we had several discussions and actually the board didn't award bids till almost the middle of January, end of January. And we had the pre-construction meeting. And in the pre-construction meeting, we also discussed with the contractors that they were to start getting their preliminary schedules together, but that the schedules for precast had been pushed back to December, which pushed the overall schedule back 3 months or to 4 months, and then of course not awarding the bids. So what we discussed with the contractors at that time was when we could confirm actual delivery date for precast and steel materials, that the final milestone schedule would be developed. So so the milestone when everything was identified. Here's the current schedule.
So this one was designed when, back in March of 22, is that correct?
Yeah, that was before the bid. No, that was designed in,
This one had to be back in 21.
yeah, it was in 21, yeah.
Level 21.
So this was the agenda schedule that I'm giving you. And this is not changed at this time. So, the contract, this is what the contractor is required to meet. The last schedule I showed must cause some confusion because I had pushed, schedule back. I showed, December and possibly January. But the construction was to finish in November. So this is the current schedule of contractors are supposed to be meeting at this time.
And that addendum, everybody is aware of that addendum. Do we have a copy of that? Do you have a copy of that?
I got copies. Yeah.
Maybe leave one with Lisa.
Yeah,
we have
she should have got it. Anyways, this is the schedule they're required to meet. I gave them a little bit of leeway. Based on, the precast didn't come until. It's supposed to come in
Mhm.
January and then February. And. What do you do at that point, so. Anyways, I fully expect that contractors can meet this. I just figured with Thanksgiving, and we're gonna want to schedule an open house or something to that effect. that, we may be moving in, sometime in December. Based on, what policies and procedures, jail inspector and occupancy permits and such. So I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page for that schedule. At this time, so.
I know, John, too, I don't, you've been in conversation with Bjorn about the, drops and such that we need there as far as communication lines and whatnot.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, and Bjorn's been working with that, and we're working with Jerry Drop, is it Jerry? Jerry. Yeah,
I mean, I can look at that blueprint, but I can't tell what's supposed to be included and not included, so somebody has to decipher what's all included and.
well, all the data drops and everything, all the boxes are brought above the ceiling, the only thing that's not included is wire, whatever plates you want on them. So that's what we're trying to get a proposal on.
Okay, I mean, are we on the same page?
I guess my questions are, if we have on the actual drawings where we're gonna put them in the office, and my understanding, we don't.
They are on there.
They're on the
So we're
plan.
having almost 250 drops.
I doubt it. I'd have to count them.
Okay.
I don't know. There's a lot, quite a few.
Okay, like one of you to show me then
Okay,
where that is.
yeah.
Yeah, it's on that floor plan.
The electrical engineer said they are not in there.
They're
Yeah,
in,
they're in there.
they're in there.
I got an email directly from him, so I guess we'll.
Well, he didn't have anything to do with that.
He doesn't
Who-
have,
who
he
put
doesn't
them in?
have the electrical drops, he has the boxes.
I'm not talking about the electrical drops.
I meant
The data boxes.
Yeah, he has the
So
boxes.
you know how they're gonna set up their offices?
Typically, we use that as a guideline and then make adjustments as necessary, to the preference of the sheriff, chief deputy, such. So it's usually real close.
Okay,
Okay, so I guess I'm suggesting you guys get your heads together before, sooner
yeah.
than,
I need
before the.
to.
Yeah, if you wanna
Sooner than
stop
later.
out, we can take a look at it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the plans that we gave Jerry. And you had,
I don't have any plans.
I emailed him,
I don't have any.
oh,
But
well, we
we'll
get
get
you
'em.
set,
yeah,
we get you a set of plans and. Cause the data drops are all shown, as far as the box. You don't have to hook to everyone, but they're spaced out. Accordingly.
So I'm gonna look at, like, we got enough outlets, that's what I'm.
Oh, yeah, we got plenty
All
of.
right, so we got plenty, whether we use them all or whether that,
It's
you
just
put
like-
wire in every one of them, but yeah.
The codes are so screwy now and they've changed to where even the outlets now. Half of the outlets have to be hooked to the occupancy sensor in the room. So that they shut off when the lights shut off and it's just
20 minutes.
stupid, I
Are
mean.
those gonna be annotated?
Yeah, we better designate them.
Identify, so that people know that when there's nobody in the room, this is gonna kill the power to whatever.
Yeah.
You go to lunch, you come back and your computer's shut down.
Computer shut down, the coffee's cold,
Yeah,
all
exactly.
the important stuff.
Yes,
And I tried to delete them on the last job and I was talking to the engineer and says, well, if we don't do the outlets, then we gotta do. The heating and ventilation and the air conditioning. To pick it out, but.
I think it's 40% of the outlets, I believe.
Yes,
40% that have to be on a motion sensor.
crazy.
So are you guys, I attended one of the contractor meetings and you guys identified a timeline. Does everything seem to be going as discussed in that? I know you were talking about getting this deal. Is everybody kind of on board and?
It's a challenge.
Yeah, I know it's like herding a squirrel sometimes. but
Yeah,
you know.
it's, as I was very disappointed with some of the progress and so is Jeremy, if you set a schedule, there's other contractors depending on you meeting that schedule. And so, I mean, if you agree to something in a meeting, all I'm asking you to do is meet your commitment. And that's what we're working on, getting that firm commitment. Because if I say that the deck's gonna be on and then I need to get dug in, to get the underground electrical in. That needs to happen. And, you know, cause Doug's depending on scheduling that, to get in there in a certain date. Concrete, they're gonna have to get creative with the scheduling. And that's what I'm trying to do with them, and so is Jeremy, that we've done 40 of these, and we know that it takes manpower wise to get these things done. So, I mean, they need to meet that commitment, and we're gonna have to be doing, we can't just do one thing at a time. We can't just be setting precast, we can't just be setting, we need the crews to follow each other safely, of course. But they need to get in there and they need to be doing multiple phases of work at the same time. And it's a matter of getting everybody pushed in the right direction. It just appears with this COVID deal over the past 2 years that everybody's gotten a little bit lax. But on the contractors' behalf too, I mean, we've seen all the contractors in this town. Everything got pushed back. And now everything is falling into place at the same time, and they are just overwhelmed.
Right, and I know as this project gets pushed back because of precast.
They go on to
Contractors find
something
gap
else.
work and they gotta finish up the gap work to come out, and all that's also.
It-
I'm just curious, it looks like there's great progress going on, you see the roof and all that stuff going in. so-
Gaining momentum.
Yeah, well, no, you get the ball rolling downhill, you wanna keep pushing it. So,
Exactly.
no, we're working with, you know, they're talking about putting that retaining wall back in, but we're gonna get together. There's. I looked at some of the grades of the plants down the way. And to the north there, and, you know, if we're at that type of slope, they're mowing that right now. I don't wanna put a retaining wall in there. And we've already cut back a couple of parking spaces so we can get down and around there. So I need to get Clocky in there. We've been visiting with the city so that we can get the road cut done and sanitary tied in. Start pushing this thing along.
Can I go copy the agenda if that's okay, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
Or me,
don't envy your position, I'll tell you that. To coordinate to get everybody on the same page. I see we have a couple local personnel here. Are you here? Do you have a question too, guys, or?
No, sir, don't. Here for agenda further on in the meeting.
Okay, Jim,
Nope, I'm good.
maybe? Good, all right, I'm sorry.
Any other question?
Well, so you gave us these two, which the one was the first one,
That one's no good, yeah,
right? Then you gave us this one that's dated the 10/16/22.
yes.
But back in February, you gave us,
Yeah,
Like
like I
this
said,
one,
I
that kind
had
of just-
extended the milestone schedule, but if you look, the construction dates finish the same time. I extended it basically so that we had a little bit of flexibility for the contractors, understanding that there has been some delays, but really they should be able to meet the original schedule.
so we should be able to go off of this
Yeah.
10/16 one, right?
The original schedule with the extensions.
Yeah, they haven't replied for any extensions at this time, so.
Okay, any other questions for Jeremy or John?
thank you very much for the update.
Hey, not a problem.
Thanks.
We're gonna try to do this every other week.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be good.
I mean, we don't have to get extended, but we can just something briefly and,
Yeah, and if it's not me, Jeremy can stop in,
Yeah.
he's the one that did Delaware that you guys heard so much about. and
we
he's
met
the
in
one-
Delaware, actually, yeah.
So Jeremy knows what's going on, we communicate quite often, so. One or the other of us will get in and give you an update as we can.
Awesome.
That way you know what's going on, and I wanna make sure that. We're all speaking, singing out of the same hymn book, you know, when we're talking to people, so that, there's no confusion.
Agreed.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for
Thank you.
coming in.
Thank you.
You too.
Yeah, you're welcome to stop out.
Little lights, yeah, I might do that. You got a shovel and a, what's that?
No shovel.
Yeah.
I've got extra hard hats. We did confirm, Jeremy, that we're done we did confirm that we're done in the lawn area. We can fix that up a little bit. I'll get my guy.
Yeah, I talked to Marty yesterday about
Yeah,
that.
we got a lawn roller lined up and
That big crane that's sitting there, that was used to set the big walls at first, so they're gonna use that for administration side.
Yeah, that's what I'm told. Yeah. They don't
Yeah,
get that big of a
yeah.
thing, but. What's it?
I just noticed to sit there and.
Yeah, how long they've been there now, you know, that thing's not making money, it's just not running.
Right.
So, yeah, so they're supposed to be out there.
Okay.
Resume on the wall.
Yeah, but some of them.
But it's also just rain.
Well, I put a request in to keep the rain up.
I would appreciate that.
good luck, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
But there's some for you.
Yeah, we just need clarification.
Okay.
All right, I'll be down.
Okay, Lisa, are you available?
I am. So this morning, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the April 11th, 2023 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorize publication in the official newspapers.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the April 11th board proceeding as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve the renewal of a special Class B retail native wine license to the Friends of Jackson County Conservation at 18670 63rd Street, Wacokota, effective June 8th, 2023 through June 7th, 2024.
Second.
Motion second to approve the renewal of the special Class B retail native wine license to Friends of Jackson County as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve the renewal of a Class E retail alcohol license to SNK Gas and Food LLC at 18820 Bellevue Cascade Road, Zwingle, effective April 15th, 2023 through April 14th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second to approve the Class E retail alcohol license to SNK as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Carried.
Motion needed to approve and authorize the chair's signature on the agreement to provide professional consulting services between Jackson County and Cost Advisory Services, Inc. for fiscal years 2023, 2024, and 2025 for an annual cost of $4,450.
And this is a normal contract that we have.
It is up a little bit. You'll see in the email that I sent you that he did increase his fees a little bit, so. It's probably not budgeted to this amount, but that difference is enough that I think we could absorb. Okay, yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion second to authorize the chair's signature on the agreement provided to professional counseling services as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
So Nate Jones, the director from Jackson County Conservation, stopped in and talked to me about the harbor wall, what's happening over there. He is questioning, it's been suggested that they put in, I'm gonna call, engineered fabric. It was not originally done, so, okay.
It'd be a good recommendation.
Okay, so anyway, that's all that I know, is that they wanna put in this fabric. Nate wants to know if you would like it taken out of his budget or if you would like it taken out of ARPA funds. I asked him how much it was. He said approximately $1,500 to $2,000.
And who are you and?
Oh, I'm not concerned about it. I just know engineering fabric is good.
This guy.
I'd be a rock over.
Is it
for
just
him,
over
but-
top the open dirt that's exposed, that's about to go into water if it ain't already?
I understand it as being behind the levee of the wall, correct? To hold.
It is. From what I've seen, there on the site.
Yeah. I mean, it's minimal. It was recommended by Alex, the engineer, to put it in there. It's pretty minimal. They're gonna buy the material, install it themselves, I take it, so it's not a big project, but I
Before
guess,
They put the backfill dirt back in, or?
I think it's on top of the backfill there, correct, or?
The fabric would be,
Yeah.
yeah, my understanding.
It's to hold it.
Is it between the wall and the dirt?
Typically on your erosion projects, they put the fabric down on top of the soil or dirt, clay, whatever's there, then they put the rock on top of that. That makes sense?
Erosion control.
Yep.
So, I guess where this goes back to is when we allocated the ARPA funds to that project, we earmarked 400,000 at that point, and the bid come in, I'm gonna do round numbers, 350. 345, something to that effect.
Yes.
So I guess it's just whether we want to include that, whether it be $1,800, $2,000, whatever it may be. Or if it's in his budget, shall he use it out of his budget?
Was the rest of the 400,000 that truck that they bought out of ARPA funds, or
That was it, it was.
was that a separate
That was
allocation?
allocated, that was separate.
If it's part of the project, I would use it.
I don't think it makes any difference, to be honest. I think if it's in his budget, to go ahead and use it in his budget. I mean, unless he's gonna run short come June, end of May or something.
I would say if he's got it, go ahead. I mean, it isn't a significant amount.
Right.
We've spared quite a bit of expense. I mean, 1,500, 2,000.
And basically, yeah, it was taxpayer dollars that we saved, tried to save and best allocate the best we could. So, I mean, we've got other projects that we can certainly use the funds on, and we're kind of in the dark yet as far as where we at. What we need with the law center as far as that goes.
If I'm understanding correctly, you'd like to have it taken out of his normal budget.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'll email.
If he thinks it's, if you both think it's feasible, take a look at his budget.
Okay, I can do that.
It's minimal, so yeah.
Okay, and that's all that I have for the board right now.
Thank you. And at this time, Luann? Morning.
Good morning.
Uh,
All right. The calendar for this week. At noon today, after the meeting is over, we have a work session with Human Resources on policy updates and personnel. At 2 o'clock this afternoon is a Mississippi Valley Workforce CEO meeting by Zoom for Don. And at 5 o'clock tonight is a conservation board meeting at Seltzer Pond up by Hurstville for any of you that want to go to that. None of you know where that is. I have the address, but it's off of Esgate Road. You go to Esgate Road and turn off.
Yes, you look at Escape Road,
Where Dan and
2
Terry
miles
just
to the
built
left.
She just did that gravel road.
Yeah, I've been down there. So they're gonna start there, but then they're going to
And then they
Hurstville.
go to Hurstville, right, when they get done there. Not gonna rain by then, I don't think so, you should be all right. Thursday, April 20th, 6 PM is the Iowa Town Hall meeting on digital services. Here in Macokota for any of you that want to attend, and that's the one that's at the Clinton Community College building up on the high school campus. And I don't know where they got their information about the name of the room, but I think they mean the Fagerland room. That's not how they spelled it, but I think that's what they mean.
And did you send the link to that for the Zoom?
Yes, it's on your calendars.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's by Zoom or not. I don't know if you'd think they'd offer that option, but I can't remember off the top of my head if they did or not,
Okay.
so. Also at 6 o'clock Thursday night is Limestone Bluffs RC&D meeting by Zoom also for Don. Friday, April 21st at 11 AM is the Isaacs Weekly Legislative Update by Zoom for Mike, that half the time they canceled the day before.
Well, they
so-
postponed the last two, they've canceled, so yesterday you've probably seen where they sent some updates on legislation that's being discussed this afternoon. So
Right.
that's gonna include EMA.
Which has some unfunded mandates in it.
Yeah,
Right.
as I read it, I talked to emergency management this morning, as far as Jackson County goes. I mean, right now, the municipalities and county both are levied some part or contribute to the EMA, and I think it's gonna continue that way, if the levy is gonna include all the municipalities, and I know there's some extra things in there. Conditions about the maximum levy and carryover balance and
So this is concerning the Senate Study Bill 1218 and the provisions that the bill requires the auditor to mail.
I seen that list. Do we need to hire another staff?
Yes, you do.
There's a
Well,
cost to that.
I get it. I seen the
And it's
list and I'm
very-
going,
It's very timely,
And-
to get this turned around will be interesting.
and that was my question to you. How much of this is already being done or is this all extra?
That's all extra. We do not do that now. To mail tax statements out is $5,500 to $6,000. We outsource that. We would probably, because of time and efficiency, we'd probably have to outsource this also. I would think that if we have to notify all taxpayers, that same $5,500 to $6,000, would be on us. That would be an unfunded mandate. What I don't understand, and I haven't read the rest of this bill, my question is it only county government that has to do that? Are they making the cities do it? Are they making the schools do it? This
For
bill
all the
doesn't read
levy,
that way,
all the
but,
levy rates and for each.
I mean, if that could be a significant cost to governmental agencies.
Well, hopefully there's lengthy discussion on that this afternoon. If
Yeah.
you can chime in at, I think 1:30 is part of it.
Yeah, there's some interesting things in this bill.
Mm-hmm.
And if you aren't aware already, there's frequently a way to go in online and listen into the live discussion. It doesn't always, they take breaks, it's not like you sit there for half an hour.
Well, yeah, it is. You sit there for a half hour waiting and then.
Waiting and waiting for them to have
And
a
then-
discussion on
and
the
then they
side,
come on
yes.
and they're gone and then to the bathroom, they're gone. So. That, I don't know how long I'm waiting, but.
But I can try to find you those links if you're interested, but I know that they do have those. Okay, Monday, April 24th at 3 p.m. is an early childhood Iowa council meeting. In DeWitt, and Nin is the alternate on that. 6 o'clock Monday night is Together We Build. Also, Nin goes to that, but that's for any of you that want to go to that. And also at 6 p.m. is the Board of Adjustment meeting for the zoning at 6 p.m.
I don't know that we have a meeting.
Well, it's possible.
We're together, we don't.
Or Together We
just
Build.
met
I just seen
We
an
just
email
had-
on that.
We just met last night.
Sometimes they change it up on me. But I will double check that and let you know.
We
But yeah, you just
met
had one last night. Yeah, okay, they might have moved it. Our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, April 25th. At 9 a.m. In terms of the business I have today, the only other thing I have is the application for a fireworks permit. Which you have in your packets from Tyler Tharp. He had a permit for fireworks last year. And so I'm looking for approval of that fireworks permit. I know that
So
this
I
may
did
be a
look
couple of
this
you,
over
so-
somewhat, guys, and I mean, it's kind of on my way over, so I know the area and I know the neighbors and I've talked to both. There is a little bit of concern there. With livestock and whatnot. I know in the past, and you guys were not a part of this, but the last couple of years, there have been discussion about, who has the authority. What kind of authority, what kind of, parameters say. How much area do you need? Where is the fallout area? Is it on your own land? Insurance. We talk about pyrotechnic licenses. It was really vague since the Iowa legislature included the sale of fireworks in Iowa. What the regulations as far as firing these off, I know these, we require permits to fire them off.
If
And
you're
they're-
outside city limits, yes.
And they're display fireworks, well,
Display fireworks, that's
again, if
covered.
you're inside the city limits,
Up to the city.
obviously, the fallout is not happening on your property.
Right.
Yes,
So, I don't know what that all includes, but, so. I've had some, brief conversations with, EMA and fire chief in Bellevue because I'm in Bellevue, but. I guess my thought is that we need a little more input. Maybe we need to have a work session that was suggested, maybe going to. Association meeting as far as a, EMA and fire departments association meeting. And or including the sheriff. Fire chiefs, whatnot, and maybe if we have someone local that's knowledgeable about the. Licensing part of it, that we have a work session maybe, and maybe just gather a little more information. It's getting bigger and there was concern on fire departments. Also, last year they brought up concern, a gentleman was advertising the sale of fireworks, and I'm sure he's licensed and on the up and up. But again, the regulations for him say. Does he have to placard this building if it's storing X amount of material in? Or do I send my emergency personnel in there not knowing that there's
fireworks in the building. Yeah.
dynamite per se in the building. You know, I'm guessing, you know, whatever's in there catches fire is not a good idea or a good situation. So I'm not real comfortable with setting my volunteer personnel in there to maybe not knowing what they're going in on. So it's like, do they need to register the amount or where it's stored? And either placard the building or something, I don't know. And the state level, from what I read, I've not read it real close, but is very vague itself, so. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are about that.
I like the idea of knowing the amount even on this application, you know.
Yeah.
That would give you an idea, at least then maybe that could be registered in the law center to say. You know, if there is something happening at that location a month beforehand, hey, there could be a large volume of fireworks there. But you can get that in a home too with shotgun shells and all that, you know.
I guess my thought is, if these things are, you know, they call them display fireworks. Well, there's a
Right.
couple different classes of them. But again, like he says, the neighbor says, well, when they light these off, I mean, it's lighting up my cattle yard 3/4 of a mile away. So, this is his livelihood and not also his livelihood and a large, investment. But also a safety issue because actually, you know, these permits are coming right next to state highways.
Right,
So if you got 50, 220 head
that would be what
on
would
the
concern me
roadway,
more.
would be a disaster. I would like to have a little more discussion for.
I know during the time with the city, it was pretty much all we could do was restrict the time. And it wasn't time of day, it was from like, I think now it's January or July 1st through the 7th. And that's about it, is all we really restricted. There was no permit to light them off or things like that.
I don't know about your neighborhood, my neighborhood sounded like World War III of the whole. week
Right,
before
my
the
big
July,
thing is,
so-
these bigger ones that are more of the commercial grade, I don't think were the intent of the state for individuals to use. Now, we can't confuse somebody's asking for permit, he's asking for permit, he's followed all the guidelines. Kind of hard not to give it to him, but they're, you know, you're looking at fire hazards, you're looking at, you know, all permits should be null and void if there's a burn ban, you know. There's some things
And they
that
are.
there's some things maybe we need to get in our resolution. Before I would be in favor of tabling this just to get a little bit more information, all that kind of stuff. We can have that meeting. I think we need to set a time frame on doing that, maybe by the end of April, so we can get May, June, get the word out. If there's any changes.
They'll be
or-
coming in now.
Or
pretty steady.
do we, especially if we're talking about.
Right,
it,
yes.
They're gonna
especially.
wanna get it in before any possible changes, or do we write this year out understanding that we will do some changes? That's something we need to discuss. I know when we talked to our fire chief, he was as little a time frame as possible, because it's just all the fire departments are on edge. They're run thin. We've seen grass fires around here, the rain we got over the weekend. I don't think it's gonna keep the fire hazard down that long. If we get our wind back like that, you know, so that's just something we need to think about and go forward, but I would make a motion, we table this right now with the understanding that within the next week or two, we can have a work session and get some input from people. And then go from there.
I would make a motion to second that, yes.
A motion and a second to table the application for the fireworks permit as presented, all those. in
Table
favor?
all applications. That's what, a table all, this one
Firework.
and any
All
of all
previous,
firework applications.
We still want them to be
Yeah, we want them
submitted,
submitted.
Right.
But right now, a determination will be determined upon our work session.
Yeah, when we did this in 2015, that's when we first started issuing these permits. We had a few, 5 a year, maybe. It wasn't a big deal. And we're closer to 20 now, a year.
And just mind that everybody, we are in favor of issuing permits and giving permits. We want you to apply for the permit and not just fire them without the permit, because you're under penalty. If not, you could be under penalty, so.
And the permit is more to notify, so
Everyone.
the EMS people, the fire departments know where these larger displays are going on. So there is shorter response time if some goes wrong.
And the troopers do sometimes check.
Yeah.
They'll pull it in, let's say, let me see your permit.
Yeah.
So
So I have a motion and a second to table all firework permits until further information can be obtained. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And that's it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Where are we at? Close to the public hearing?
Yeah, we got 4 minutes.
Any other reports or, on commissions or boards? I seen Iris had sent out an email as far as the water project in Bellevue is coming along.
Yep.
I don't know that I have any other reports.
Well, just to follow up on what we talked about last time, the polls Marty asked about down at the senior center. I did talk to the city and their recommendation would be on the north side of that parking lot by the Burlingame field, they have poles in the ground with connected via a cable. And they would like to do that on the south side where these big telephone poles are laying on the ground. And they said they would put the poles in, set the poles, string a cable if we provide the cable. Jaden just came in, I had asked secondary road, but they didn't care what kind of cable, new, old, whatever. If we just had old bridge cable, whatever we could use. Jaden just came in before and he said that they do have cable. They just need to know about how much. I told him they just guessed like 300 or 400 feet. And he's gonna go back to make sure they have that, but he goes, well, they have cable. So if we provide the cables, the city will go in and put those posts in the ground and string the cable through, which will get rid of those telephone poles and eliminate the ability to drive through there.
I would, if that sounds like a good proposal to you, and I don't know the area that
I
well.
think that's good.
I think it helps mowing with both the fairgrounds and the city. It cuts down the traffic driving through. And it makes it all look the same.
So to me, that's just maintenance. I would say go ahead and proceed with it. I don't know that we need to have,
Yeah, it's already, like I say, it's just cable.
it's already there. It's just replacing what's got.
Right.
Yeah, I would say let them fire away whatever information you got there.
And the second thing was we talked about having a work session with the city about the parking lot across
Yeah.
the street because they would like to seal coat it and restripe it. And they're on board with it or whatever. So we just need to get that on the books. I told Frank I said, whenever you guys are ready, any Tuesday, we can have that. And he says, okay, he'll talk to Josh and get back to us.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, the sooner the better, probably if we can get that taken care of too. Does somebody want to touch base with Marty about that hydrant? Or with
Yeah,
the
that's
city?
one, that was one question. Is that, do you know if
Or the
that
city,
hydrant
we
is
should
dead?
ask Chuck, I bet Chuck didn't. That either, but.
I did.
But he might have some kind of record of when he bought the place, if that thing is active or not active. I would imagine there's a shut off for
When
that.
US Bank sold that, because the city tried to buy it at one point in time. And when I called US Bank to talk to them about it, they didn't even know that chunk of property came with the bank.
Yeah.
So,
I called him too one time to buy that, but it wasn't available to us unless we bought the bank.
and by the looks of that chain, I don't think that hydrant's been unlocked in a good while. So,
Well, my thought is if it's not functional and not going to be functional, we should just get rid of it.
well, I don't want it to freeze off and bust and flood the street. I mean, it isn't.
Do you want me to
exactly
touch base
the way
with Marty,
it's
see if he can find something out or? Okay. I'll leave that on you. That's as far as I have on other reports.
Seventh Judicial is still kind of rolling along, doing what they can as they can right now. They're working their, as far as financial wise. And how things are gonna roll over, so apparently state of Iowa is kind of taking back these districts. And they're one of the first districts that they're gonna do it in stages, it sounds like, so. Brandy, who does a lot of their financials down there, is working very heavily. She's one of the first districts that's going back. She's working on that, but they are still moving forward with trying to get their high-risk housing units up and going and.
I just
What they
talked,
said.
How'd my what?
just talked.
Good. Don't remember what we talked about. That was last week. We talked about the noxious weeds a little bit, and we talked about some other things in the roads and the dust control, and
Talk about ditch right of ways and who cleans what.
we did a little bit. But it's in the noxious weed thing, and then we talked about sending a letter out, but don't know if we have any input as far as how many that would be.
Approximately 16,120.
The
Whoa.
amount of that other stuff, I guess, and
That would be 22,000.
There's that many residents.
Well, I think we could kind of condense that down, but that's how many parcels. So
Yeah.
that was just a real quick,
16,000 parcels.
no.
Well, there wouldn't be
22,000.
that many 911 numbers, would there be?
I'm sorry, Mike. what?
Is that tie in with like the 911 numbers? So there have to be electrical to the place as far as parcels are,
But I mean, because this 16,000 figure would be a family farm that has 3 parcels.
Right,
We'd only
right.
send one
Right,
parcel, so we'd have
right.
to create a list.
could
and
we go
then-
by rural 911 numbers or EMS? As far as rural,
Or would it be easier to go off what Beacon Snyder printing off property and everything? Wouldn't that list everybody's parcels with their name?
But that comes from the county system.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's something we'd have to really take a look at, because then we'd have to take a look at the list and only come up with one name we wouldn't want. Because you could be Mike Steinis, you could be Michael Steinis, you could be Michael G Steinis, you could be
Mhm.
just James. I mean, so there's different ways that people have property titled.
And you could have a trust.
And correct, so there's different ways, and then you could get 4 different notices,
The same thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
because we
we'll
have,
think about that.
we
Is
have,
Lori gonna be here for the public hearings?
So call her quick, would you please?
So at least I have, and then if you do have, okay, let's just say we can eliminate. And get down to 10,000 notices. Is that $1 a piece for easy, I mean, do you wanna spend 10,000? I mean,
No, I mean, we
because
need
they're
to,
gonna
we
do
need to
it
get it out there and let it be known, but
yeah, so
I
that's,
think
yeah,
word of mouth and less, a lot of this
Wouldn't it?
stuff, we did that already. Stuff mailboxes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good conversation anyway. Is Lori coming?
Yes. Right here.
What's the
16,000? And this is actually rural
rural.
parcel.
Oh, okay.
So there could be 5 parcels with one property though, so that's.
Right.
Are you ready, Lori?
Kind of, not
We have a
really.
Public hearing scheduled at 10.
Yes, sir. Lisa, I still didn't get your signature. On Agate, you didn't have any problems with that, right?
No,
Okay, I have it here.
okay,
Right.
fine.
So at this time, we have a public hearing on the proposed ordinance 312, that's rolling residence. So we will open the public hearing. And would you just recap a little bit?
Sure, and this is not really a residence, it's a little sliver of property that is adjoining to his commercial industrial site.
I misstated that little designation there, I said rezoning, I should have said.
That's okay. So anyway,
This is over by the railroad tracks over in Spruce Creek, that little area.
yes, sir. Yep, just on the other side of the tracks there. Well, it depends on which way you're coming from.
Either way. this
Yeah.
is-
So anyway, this was initially found when he applied for a zoning permit back last fall. And when I got the permit, I'm like, wait, we have a problem. This isn't zoned correctly. And it was something where he'd had previous zoning permits issued underneath a bad classification. So I didn't think it was his obligation to fix it since it had been missed by previous zoning administrators. So that's why I initiated the change on the big parcel. And that was titled differently. It's actually owned by Stephen Pegg, under contract to Ryan. And that's why I ended up missing this little sliver of a piece and didn't discover it until right after those public notices went out. So that's why we're catching it now, just trying to get it corrected and changing the A1 zoning to M2 zoning.
I've received no comments.
I did not receive any comments myself. Is there anyone else here to speak according to the proposed ordinance change?
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carried. Now we have discussion possible action to waive the second, and third public hearing ordinance 312, same order. Same here.
Like that motion.
Just one,
So
we have to have 3 public hearings, or do you have a public hearing and then you have an ordinance takes 3 readings?
we have to have just one public hearing.
Right, but this reads like you have to waive your second and third public hearing. I thought you have to have 3 readings for an ordinance.
I believe in past, I can tell you that past practice has been that you have had a public hearing and waived.
The second and
the
third
second and
readings.
third, If you so choose. I know that that's
Yeah.
what past practice has been.
Yeah. So.
So- Luann, did you put the public hearing on here? or waive the-
Yes, 10 o'clock. And 10:05 is discussion to waive the second and third public hearings. And
We don't have a
10:06
second and third public hearing, though, right? We just have a reading.
Yeah, do a motion for that, and then you can take action if you want to.
So I would make a motion that we suspend or take action to waive the second, third public readings of the ordinance through 312. Rolling rezoning.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to waive the second and third public hearing readings as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried. So now we just have to approve the ordinance as presented. Is that correct?
Correct, and then it takes effect, it has to be published within 30 days from today if you approve it. And then it takes effect as soon as it's published.
So moved.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the proposed ordinance and publish as necessary. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay, motion carried. And Lori also here for discussion and possible action on approval of a 2-lot minor subdivision.
Egg and acres.
Okay,
Okay. So,
can you pull this up? Is it something that,
it's just south of 334th Street, so just south of where you pull into Smithsbury.
Here where the golf course is, Mike,
right,
it's our pit there
yeah,
by Dennis.
so is it
Keefer's.
up next to Keefer's or is it down?
You'd be neighbors with Dennis Keefer, yeah.
Okay, so we approved a driveway permit a
Yes,
couple
sir.
weeks back.
Yep, it's right here showing that it was approved.
Okay, I'd
Yes.
just like to see it, yeah. And do you have paperwork on it?
For
I
the
guess,
driveway permit?
did you email us anything like a plat of it or anything or no?
I think I handed out the resolution to you. Right?
I did not.
Okay. I mean, I know where it's at.
I did not. And I apologize. I can make sure that that happens from here on out.
Well, just so we kind of know.
Okay.
So it's that parcel. So just so everybody can kind of see of what's happening here, that it's in a residential area. There's 2 residents along 334th, and 334th is also the proposed. We have an agreement with the railroad, I hope,
To keep it open.
keep it open.
That's what they're saying. I don't know about agreement. I don't know if they really sign much for agreements.
No, well, they were supposed to get back to us, and we have not heard from them.
No, and I've reached out to them a couple times.
So is it the?
Pull that down.
Miss Ferry Road or is it?
Okay, no, so this is 395th. That's the golf club on your left where that's right where he's got this cursor is the parking lot. And if you go up 395th past the golf course, there's residents on the left. A couple, and then 334th goes into Smithsbury Road.
Right, the lot we're talking about.
Point to it right there.
Okay.
Right there is the way it's drawn. That's a 2.9 acre parcel. They did not want to do a 2.9
I wish
acre
we did.
parcel.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
It was a right there has how that sketch is 2.9 acres.
Uh-huh,
The buyer did not want 2.9 acres and they surveyed off 2 acres taxable, 2.3 acres gross. So, and then also, this is gonna be lot 1, and then they combined these pieces and then the residual, that other 0.9 acres.
whatever's left off of that.
Right,
Okay.
into one nice, pretty.
Okay, so
legal
we have
description.
a legit 2 acre parcel or a little better.
Absolutely,
And then what I'm gonna call the sand pit is gonna remain like it, okay. So just south of that, if you can see where the sand pit is, that's where they have a scale system and a sand pit there and.
and that'll be, 27.36 taxable acres. Gross is 29.23.
Okay, any questions, comments, concerns?
This is resolution 958, by the way.
Okay,
Just, a couple things, off our checkoff list, the designation of the final plat, identification of adjacent properties. Consecutive numbers for all lots, names and addresses of owners are all on the plat. The locations of the entrances to the public road system. Are being shown, the means and access to each lot is identified. The corner certificates are there. There's no utility easements proposed. Has the simple location on the map, on the plat. There's no development on the land, so that's already taken care of. Arrows indicating drainage is taken care of. The county engineer's office has waived the drainage calculations, which it is allowable in the ordinance. So they have waived that since it's just 2 lots of land that's already being used basically for what it's being used for in the
basically
drainage.
one.
Well,
I was
one
gonna say, why is
buildable.
it, why is it saying 2 lots if we're? only
Well, the
doing
other
2 acres?
parcels is considered the other lot, the
Yes.
20 acres considered
Because
the other.
basically,
Oh, okay.
What
here.
happened was like a long time ago, someone already subdivided this,
Uh-huh,
and then I have to do it or something.
sure you.
it was a dirty legal. It was the
So
residual.
it's gonna
the
be what he
residual.
has highlighted there and then
Partial.
below that.
Actually, so
That's perfect.
this is gonna be just a little bit smaller than it
Right.
is. And then the residual is gonna be picked up with these 2,
Lot 2.
so that'll be lot 2.
Okay. Gotcha. Good.
So, the only thing in here that they have not met, and Ben, you're gonna help me out on this one.
Yep.
That is the fence line agreement, which since there's no buyer yet, and it may not even be needed. So, because basically the fence line agreements they come into play with adjoining ag land. And since there's not a new buyer, the new buyer hasn't taken possession yet. And the information I have from their attorney, is that owner of lot 1 and their successors, and assigned shall be responsible for installing and maintaining the fence surrounding their property if required. And that will be taken care of at the time of the closing with the new owner, if it's required.
I'm not saying I'm old, but as long as I can remember, there's never been any livestock in there. There's not a fence around.
It's just all corn and soybeans typically,
Yeah.
hay fields.
It's on my list, so I just wanted to make sure it was
So,
addressed
Is
in
that
But-
considered lot 1,
the
Yeah.
small one.
the 2 one?
Yeah.
So if they so choose to have a fence, it would be on them.
Correct.
Is that what that's saying?
But basically, it's talking about for agricultural purposes, so like if they were running cattle. The lot 1 would be responsible for a fence around their property, but that's probably not gonna be the case. for
Yeah, I
you
mean,
guys.
bottom line is my attorney advised me, don't sign him anything until we actually do like the selling. Then I will present him a document that says, here's your pension agreement form.
So
Check yes or no.
are they responsible for the fence or the right hand rule of the fence?
I guess it would be however they wrote it into their agreement.
Yeah, as far as my attorney and I are working on, it's gonna be their responsibility. for it.
That's fine. I don't see any issues.
But you're probably not gonna need a fence there in.
No, I mean, there's no cap.
Keepers don't have it, Huxmeyers don't have a fence, nobody has a fence there.
No,
Okay,
so
Not a
that
big
was
deal.
so
the only criteria. The title opinion is done by the um. Attorney, the surveyor's report. The city of Bellevue has signed off on it because it's within 2 miles of their city limits. The property owner's consent has been signed and we have the original on that. That's the attorney's opinion, and these are the corner certificates. And
okay,
I just have to get one more signature on my list.
After the meeting.
Okay, all right, make it legal here.
all right, so I believe I have a motion on the table to approve resolution 9580418-2023.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried. Does the A gate have a designation? A gate?
Take it.
Agate. Oh, that's it. People go down there and look for agates, right?
Exactly.
I've seen them down there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right, thank you. Any other business you had, Lori?
Yes, I did just meet with Don Keys and we talked about Leisure Lake. John said he is supportive with going forward with getting the initial notices served in Leisure Lake. He says there's really limited case law on it for us to hang our hats on the private property. I do have permission to be in there from the Leisure Lake Property Owners Association Board. And that, but at the same time, I'm not traipsing through people's property. It's things that can be seen from the roadway that I've been allowed to be on.
Have you had any response to the letters that were sent?
I have had response to the letters that have been sent. I even have a gentleman that follows up with me every 3 to 4 weeks to see where we are and how soon we're gonna get these notices out. So we've actually had people walk into our office and thank us for what we're going to do.
Any negative responses?
No, from property owners that don't think they should be cleaning up their stuff, none. The only thing I'm hearing is from board members that are saying, well, you're gonna have problems with so-and-so because they're not gonna clean up until so-and-so cleans up, and so-and-so's not cleaning up until the other person cleans up. And I think we're gonna have a little meeting of the minds when I start getting hit with that, because I
So,
know.
I mean, we've been through this before, Lori, we've been through this before, so it's either the situation where we follow up with it. And
We haven't, is from what I've seen.
I get it.
before. And that's kind of the problem. But yeah, we did find paperwork going back, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, where a letter was sent to all the property owners in Leisure Lake, saying that things were gonna happen, and I think they just died. Nothing was done from what we could find. So my question is to you, we're in a position we could probably send out the first batch next week. And we're gonna have to
Is
do
this
them.
to specific property owners, or is this gonna be a blanket?
No, this has to be specific property owners, and they will be served via civil process through the sheriff's office. And it won't all be in our county. So there will be other counties that I'll be reaching out to have service done.
so as far as the letter's gonna state the fine, the whole process, as far as the fines, the amounts, okay.
Yes, sir. And so one of my other questions to you guys is, How, how do you want this done? I know in the past you guys have received emails or pictures of the violation properties. Our first batch is probably gonna have about 40. And we believe we're gonna have about 80 properties total. And most of this is garbage, trash, tires, abandoned vehicles, unregistered vehicles. Overall, just,
How do we want what done?
do you want me to send an email out with pictures of every property that we're looking to have served? Do you wanna go on a road trip?
I think that, sending pictures of 40 properties is gonna be a lot of extra work. If you could just have a binder that, of the properties and pictures that, printed out that we can look at.
Sure.
We have to have something to start with. I mean, you have to have proof that this is what it looked like to begin with, and if there is any improvement, we need to have proof of that, and if there's continuing improvement.
We have,
So we have to have documentation.
we do.
I know it's I know it's a chore, be it, to go out, but if we're gonna pursue it,
Mhm.
we have to do it right. So,
We do have that.
okay.
I just wondered if you guys wanted all of it too.
I think where there's a binder that we could use as reference to look at it. Is the Leisure Lake Association got any responsibility in this, or they just got some rules that they're not getting followed, so they're interpreting it to us? And we incur the cost that maybe they should have, do they have a penalty for people that don't adhere to their rules?
Yeah, like, okay, I had a meeting with one of their board members yesterday. And they are trying to go out and uphold their end of the deal. And now there's some infighting because there are certain people that don't like the notice that they're going out, because they're kind of doing it generic. They're doing it the same way we're gonna do ours. And one person says, no, you have to itemize each piece of stuff that they have to pick up. And, the red cooler, the yellow cooler, the broken down green lawnmower, the broken down red lawnmower. And so there's some infighting going on in there right now where it sounds like maybe someone doesn't agree with the way they wanna go with their process.
Well, I certainly think a nuisance is a blanket. We've never done that before, itemize every item that's laying on the property or attached to it.
Right.
But, I mean, it's
We'll have-
certainly, if it's a nuisance, it's a nuisance, but we've talked to this association before, and I've told them they have some responsibility here,
Right.
whether it be a 3-day cleanup or whatever it may be. They need to take a hold also.
Right.
We
And
discussed that.
they did send out their notices in December. And I don't know that they had much.
And we have copies of that on file also.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Just so we have documentation of where we started and where we're trying to end up.
yes.
You know,
And-
whether how much ground we gain,
Right,
it's visible
right,
that we can tell,
right.
or numbers or something,
And we have talked to property owners out there and you have property out there, that clientele's changing.
Mhm.
It's people our age that are retired, semi-retired, want that nice quiet place on the weekend. They're willing to pay 200,000 plus for a nice little cabin along the lake. And so I can see some trends in,
I've had a lot of people talk to me, say they're excited about the changes and they wish they could go faster. But they also gotta understand that we can only move at the speed of government and we have to follow the law verbatim with plenty of time and in due process, because it's not like, we can just go in there and just say, this is wrong, clean it up and just slap them. I mean, there is a process. It's a lot of time not near as fast as people would like.
Absolutely.
So, there's excitement to seeing things get cleaned up because yes, it got very rough. There for a while, and to get some of this taken care of is great, but we just need to make sure we're doing it right.
yeah. What are you looking at?
I think you gotta watch too, what I think is an eyesore, what you think is an eyesore. So that person may not be an eyesore, so I like the idea of, you got unregistered, unmovable car, that type of thing, okay, yes, but,
Piles of tires,
know.
abandoned campers,
right,
yeah. abandoned mobile homes. And, you know, I probably won't name all the red coolers, the yellow coolers, but I will give enough detail. To keep us covered.
Right.
That's the goal.
You know,
And
even with some of that, it's like, is something being used as a lawn and garden shed that used to be this, or, you know, so.
well, I think you were out there with me where there was a mobile home. I mean, it was pretty well kept, but you can tell it's not inhabited. It was being used for storage. That won't be something I'm going after.
Right.
But the guy that's missing the siding, I'm gonna leave off the housing by some of the other house violations, the ones that say you have to have siding. We might just overlook, that's not gonna be high on our priority list right now.
Right.
Although there is one that I'd like to have you guys' opinion on, not at this time, but one that I'd like to share some information on to see if we need to pursue certain ones.
Okay, so I think we're all in agreement to go ahead and to pursue this somewhat. We also have to understand that there could be substantial costs associated here.
There will be.
So we have to be aware of what we can and cannot do. I guess it's on a case by case so much as if it's a blanket, you know.
What are you guys looking for? Our typical notice from what historically has been a 30-day notice.
To comply,
And then also within our notice and also by state code, they have to have recourse to be able to ask for an extension, which is in our notice. And it has to be written notice to the Board of Supervisors before the end of the time frame.
okay, so after the 30 days, we are legally able to go in and abate,
No, sir.
okay?
There'd be next step. There would
Okay.
be, that's when the court system comes into play.
And fines are issued, is that the
There
case?
can be, I don't think.
And then there's a
it's
time
ever-
frame as far as still complying? I'm sure.
Say that one more time.
There's another time frame complying with the second process or the third process
I'll
or.
be learning as I go.
So as I know, there's an individual in the room right now that know that we've tried this for 30 years on the property. They know about
And
these
we'll,
things.
we'll do our best. And, you know, we have a great county. We have a beautiful counny. Let's just, you know, try to.
When we want people to take pride in their property and respect to others, neighbors be it, you know,
Mhm,
it's just the general public in general is.
mhm. So do you want to, should we go with that 30? Do we want to go with, I mean, well, we
I
did
don't
give
know
them,
if we can change it unless we change our policy.
I
How can
think
we-
it,
We gave them an extension when you kind of did that letter.
the courtesy letter. So they've already had a little heads up.
Notice, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have our
But this is
original.
what our procedure says now, 30 days.
Um,
Unless we change our procedure, we have to stick with that, correct?
I'm not sure if it's actually a procedure or just how, I mean, you could probably give them a week. But I
Oh,
think
no.
30 days has just been the
I think a
the
30 day to
standard.
at least see progress.
Okay, so I guess I would agree that 30 days is substantial enough. At least if they want an extension, they should apply for an extension. They can write a letter in 30 days if that's the case.
Sounds good to me.
All right,
When they apply for extensions, is it like a 30-day extension and that's it? Or?
that would probably be up to you guys. So
Whatever
if
they apply
somebody
for, I
is,
guess we consider.
somebody has a hardship where, you know, they're going through treatments of some sort or medical, I mean, you guys might weigh it on a case by case.
Okay.
I would say most of it would be a case by case.
Cause there could be some extenuating
There's
circumstances.
a few of them that it's gonna maybe take some equipment to move something, so.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, kind of like we have in the past, you know, if you can show us you got something lined up with somebody. I'd be more willing to grant that extension than, well, I'm gonna work on trying to find somebody, you know. Type of thing, so.
It's gonna be a process. I mean, there's no doubt about it, and it could even come into the process of being a tax sale or whatever it might be at some point, but.
Yeah.
We'll follow through with it.
Yeah, I mean, we can do hard things and we will. One other question, I don't know that if this call falls under action, because if it does, we won't do it, but you asked about other business. Last night at our zoning commission meeting, the commission recommended rezoning for the visitor center that was just sold to by the,
That will have to come before the board as an action item, I would say.
okay, I was just wondering if, yes, it would, but I was just wondering, does it have to be an action item to ask for it to go to public notice?
Whatever our legal recourse, I would talk to council.
I'll just wait and put it on next week and ask for
There you
action
go.
be took to take it
I don't wanna
to.
do something wrong.
Just do a public hearing rezone like over there, and would we have to do a public hearing to do a rezoning for the? local center?
Yeah, we'd have to do a public hearing, but I'm just wondering, can we start the paperwork for the public hearing, or do you have to like vote to take
Just have the
action?
public hearing for the next.
Yeah,
Just set, oh, well, no, the public hearing would have to be out in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
because it has to be
so
a,
next week we've set the notice for the
No,
public
I
hearing.
don't think it's no different than anything else. They can go ahead and ask you or ask your board to go ahead with it and then bring it to us.
I already did. I mean, that's already done. I was just wondering if we could start the paperwork and get the notice to the paper the end of this week, so we'll, and I'll be back next
You can't put
Tuesday.
it on the agenda if your meeting is within 24 hours before.
No, it's not. It would actually be scheduled for like
No, what I'm
May.
saying is you had your meeting last night.
Yeah,
Our agenda for today was posted.
okay, so it has to be
yesterday
on your
morning,
agenda.
So
Got it.
it has to be
Okay.
on the agenda
Okay.
as an action.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if that was really action.
So if you slid your meeting back a couple days prior, maybe that's possible.
Yeah, maybe next.
But it can't be that efficient.
No. So anyway, I'll
We have
see you
not
guys
changed
next
the
week.
process, so that's the process.
Yep.
Okay, all right. All right, so anyway, I think I've covered everything I was going to cover.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth?
Right.
Thanks, Ben. All right.
How are you doing?
Next on our agenda is Jack Willie and Lynn Bolt. Disability Service Coordinator and Board Member.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So,
Good news, I take it?
more of the same.
All the above.
Didn't you say?
All the above.
Yeah. So yes, we're here to follow up to yesterday's Eastern Iowa Mental Health and Disability Services Region Governing Board meeting, of which Min was in attendance as well. And Jack and I were there, just to hit some of the highlights, and then you guys can certainly fill in where I left blanks. David Farmer again gave the financial report for the region, and the noteworthy piece of information is the projected fund balance at this point is almost at 60%, 59.94, I think. So just as a reminder, this is that significant number that by June 30th, it's intended to be at 20% of what our cash is.
Of this year?
Yeah, June 30th of 2023. There was,
Just around the corner.
yeah,
So do we have a plan for that fund balance?
they, later in the board meeting, the board approved, or I guess just kind of endorsed some one-time funding expenses, but only to the amount of $24,000.
So otherwise it's gonna reserve back to the state, is that what I'm saying?
Ultimately, yes. It will,
And does
whatever,
it stay in a fund or does it just go?
it goes
away?
to an incentive fund. And
Which we
then,
can apply for.
yes, that we can apply for if we ever find ourselves in financial straits. Then the other impact it has is it impacts the quarterly payments that we get from the state, because whatever we are over, the way it
Send
stays
the
in
money back.
So it
They give
doesn't
us
stay
this
in a
much.
fund balance for our region, it goes back to
It's not a
anyone
region.
that's want a piece of it.
statewide.
So somebody's gonna get it somewhere.
Eventually, right. And there have been risk pool dollars back when Jack was on the board in the earlier years. when it was all county funding, so that concept is not totally new to the state of Iowa. And Jackson County did actually apply for risk pool funding 1 year since I've been in this position. So yes, it's available to anybody, any of the
So
regions.
this overage, did this come from when they created the region? They took the county's money and everybody had to give their balance over? Is that where this overage came from?
Our 60 for our
Yeah.
overage. Our overage is coming again. Now, this is kind of the same conversation I've had with the board for the last probably year or so. A lot of it is due to, we had dollars in our budget that we anticipated spending in FY 23. Primarily due to inability to hire staff in a timely manner for the agencies that are doing the crisis services. There's a lot of unspent dollars. And one of the other big ticket items that we're hoping starts before the end of the fiscal year, but is a costly item, and it's contract with prescribing agencies so that we can have kind of, for lack of a better term, probably emergency appointments for people to get medications if they can't get into their traditional provider in a timely manner. We're calling them bridge appointments. That was hoped to have been in place the entire fiscal year. And Robert Young Center has been attempting to contract with an entity to do that. And they just now, I think, have finalized plans with another entity, but that contract has to go back to Unity Point Legal, which our experiences, that could be a several-week process. Then once it's signed by both parties, then the company thought they would need probably up to 4 weeks to actually get that person available and get the appointments operational. So now that we're already this far into April, the reality is
It's not gonna happen.
no, not any significant effect at all. But hopefully July 1st. So that's primarily where all the overage is coming from.
Good.
Lack of unspent funds due to services being delayed and getting started.
We've, as a board, have approved the funds to be spent
Yeah,
and the programs to be enacted, but they can't get the employees to operate it and to do the work. Which makes it very difficult.
yeah, it's all been budgeted.
Yeah, very hard to implement a plan or a service and not have everybody to do it. So it's a two-edged sword where you have the funds to do it, but you can't do it.
It's like the jail, if you can't,
You know,
don't
they're
build
even-
walls, you put it up.
Yeah,
They're even having difficulty just getting nurses.
You know?
Yeah. And I really like some of the incentive programs they have for that legislatures take doing, but again, you involve legislature in private business,
I think one of the big pluses that we have implemented and they will be implementing is we talked last month about the Genesis Medical Center. And we approved yesterday that they will be providing the service in their ERs. And their request was for $774,904. They'll be hiring some additional people. Last year, they served 3,564 individuals in 2022. And these people were from Scott County, outside of Scott County, but within our region. And the number of people in the ED at one time was as high as 55 people waiting to be serviced. And it's just really tough. And some of those people were sitting in there for, lots of hours, up to 8 hours. They were just sitting there waiting for some kind of service. So they're going to be hiring some additional staff that will be able to provide this service.
That's
And-
kind of geared around West Campus.
East.
We misspoke on that last time. We
East,
said it
it's
was
the
west, but it's all at the east
East Iowa,
campus.
yeah, it's going to be at the East Campus.
I thought they were designating the West Campus because they're not taking ER patients.
At one time, early on, it was my understanding that was a plan, and then I realized after our meeting last month, when we came and explained to you that would be at the East Campus, I was corrected on that, so I apologize for that misinformation. At the East Campus, they have designated an area with 10 rooms, from what I understand, but it's at the East Campus. I don't know where they're doing, physically where they had the space to do that, but So now, as I understand it, and Jackie, correct me if this is wrong, but if I were to present at the East Campus with a psychiatric crisis, I would be taken to a specific, more of a isolated area that was specific to mental health concerns. Once they get the staff on board, again, we're waiting for them to hire.
According to our reports that we got yesterday, it said the funding for the Genesis East Emergency Department, 24-hour access to crisis response. So it is at the East Campus.
So is your agreement with Genesis, does that carry over to
Yeah.
the new proprietor or owner or however agreement that is? I think I seen on the news a couple, 3 weeks ago, that one in Illinois is closing.
They're closing some, they're closing some offices.
Yeah,
Genesis had a lot of outside duplexes.
so is it
So I
Mercy
think-
One that's taken over Genesis?
Yes.
Okay, so that agreement carries over, correct?
Yeah, all of the, my.
Usually all of the services will carry over. It just might be some outside.
I have a copy here that I'll leave with each of you and with Lisa with the FY 24 annual service and budget plan. It was approved by HHS. This is a plan that every region has to submit by April 1st, and it's the projection obviously in the upcoming fiscal year. So this gives you kind of a snapshot of what the budget that's been approved for FY 24 and what services that encompasses. The crisis system reported yesterday that they were in Jackson County and met with all the law enforcement at some point in April. I think there was a training held at Andrew at the fire station. And
They said they had a great turnout and the participants were really pleased with the training that they received.
I think the crisis systems training piece of that was just to, again, review with all law enforcement what's available to them in terms of crisis services. Lori gave a little bit of an legislative update in Senate File 494, which is due to be signed. I think one of the impacts that she discussed yesterday that will impact across the state of Iowa is when people apply for Medicaid or SNAP benefits, food stamp benefits. The inquiries into the applicants on that application will be vetted pretty deeply. They're gonna, from what I understood from Lori, and I have not read the file, but they'll be looking at everybody in the household in a variety of areas, not just income, but also values of property, values of vehicles, incarceration records, disability records. And they anticipate it could impact about 8,000 people that may, in Iowa, that will not be eligible for benefits that have been accustomed to being eligible.
That will revert back to the region.
And possibly the county's general
Right.
assistance funds
Assistance.
as well. Exactly how that will impact Jackson, I guess we'll have to wait and see, or the mental health region, but. So that's going to be kind of an interesting thing to watch, but we may see more uninsured people at some point again. And that was all I had really. It was kind of a short meeting.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else?
Well, we sure appreciate you guys staying involved with it and keep us updated, and I know it's ongoing and
The other thing that Jack mentioned yesterday, so I made a copy for everybody too, you know, one of the big areas that some of the money has been spent on is training. So I have the training log for fiscal year 23. I'll just give you guys a copy of
I
that.
thought you
as
might be
well.
interested in seeing that. We had it and I asked Lynn if she would make a copy of that for you so you can look at that.
Yeah.
And see what's going on. Another thing I'd like to add is that last Friday, a week ago, I went down to Scott County to the 7th Judicial District Court Mental Health Court. They had a graduation ceremony for some of the individuals that are attending that. And it was extremely interesting. I'd heard about it for years, but hadn't ever gone to the graduation. And Maryland had commitments, so I thought, well, I have time, I'm gonna go down. And they had 5 graduates. One was from Clinton, and the other 4 were from the Quad Cities. And their program is absolutely phenomenal. And there were only 3 of them there for the graduation. One of them, they thought he was coming, but wasn't there. And they said it wasn't like him not to show up. But the head of it talked a lot about what their program was and what they involved and what they did. But it was, they really, I mean, they almost have a really personal relationship with these individuals, and they said they call them all times of the day and night if they're having problems, and they go and work with them and make sure that they stay on the straight and narrow. But all of them now are fully employed, and the one that was there Friday, he and his wife, and they had a 2-month-old baby, and he was so proud of the baby, and everything seems to be moving in the right direction for them.
Well, you like to see the system work, and that's rewarding when you can see something like that and know that you're helping somebody. You know, if it's 1 or 2
Absolutely.
or 10 or whatever it may be, is progress.
Every person helped does a good thing.
And that is a program that's available to Jackson County, and I know that the adult probation parole officer Renee Bear is aware of it and has made referrals. There are criteria which you have to meet in order to be accepted into it, and it just hasn't worked out for anyone yet, but it is something that eventually I think you'll
It
see
will be
people-
available here and is available.
It is available now, we just haven't had anybody participate in it yet.
We all that space
With
going
that,
that direction with
Yeah.
the new.
yeah, right. Okay.
Once we get the new jail. And last night we did have a meeting, Ben was there for the Together We Build, and they said they're gonna start putting up wall panels in May.
Maybe in May.
Yeah, the big discussion was whether we have a dance floor or do we have a dance floor.
I made any friends there.
I don't think I did either. The look Lanny gave me when I said my comment, so anyway.
Well, we appreciate all the work you're doing and keeping us updated.
Thanks. You're all happy.
Enjoy the day.
Thank you much.
Yep.
Okay. So I believe, is there any other reports or input as far as other boards or commissions that we want to report on? Otherwise, we're scheduled to have a couple work sessions, yes?
Motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carried, meeting adjourned.